Atui ki te mare.
Madam Speaker,
Mai ne wā tuto.
Honourable members, please be seated.
E te o mema, rateka ki no ki raro.
Parliament is resumed.
Te akamata ko nei te parliament.
I will call on the Minister Paine Mokoroa to report to Parliament.
Pa te te minita nā o te tuanga ki report mai ki te parliament.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for the opportunity for us to recess so that the Select Committee, the Immigration Select Committee, can have another session with the relevant officials to see how best we can proceed with these areas that are a challenge for us in the House today.
Me te ki mata e te mane wā tuto a perakato. Me te ki no tuato i orongo me koe. Kia uipanga a ko o te komiti no te tuanga e te oronganga kimi te tai rawanga me te ki mo.
As discussed in the report, 7.2, the definition of a Cook Islander,
Me te taiku i e te reporti, te numero itu topatarua ko te akatakaanga i te Cook Island, tangata Cook Island.
paragraph 7.25 talks about the adopted child.
Ko te irawa itu topatarua rima, te tutuara no runga te taikora i te tai tamaiti, te tai tama, te anga i.
The Select Committee is of the view that Article 76A
Te manakoanga o te komiti e ko te atikara i tunga o maono, ko a,
which will also assist recommendations 7.5 in the report,
te kataturu te rira i te tamanakoanga i te topatarima i roto i te report.
should be repealed and replaced with the current draft that we have circulated among us.
Kia tipu i atu te rira e kia mono i atu te rira e te tataanga te tuku i atu nei kiwa.
These amendments, to our understanding, will address Clause 21, Clause 24, and Clause 35 and 36 of the bill.
Te manakoanga ko te au tamanakoanga ara ko te rira i te akatano mai i te au irawa o rongo uru matai, irawa rongo uru maa, torongo uru marima e te torongo uru maono o te ture tamanako.
As mentioned to the members of the House, this is a very complicated and difficult issue to discuss and explain properly in the House.
Me te akataka ia ki te o mema o te ngutuare e ture tamanako ngata tirera e te akanganga i te akamaramanga ki te o mema o te ngutuare.
But nevertheless, we are required under our mandate to ensure that the changes that we are making
Nara, wanono ia mato i raro ke i te tonga te oronga ia mai ke mato ki a tano i te au tauianga
is fit for the time that we have for this period of time
e ko tau te rira no te ia tuatau
and for the next 40, 50 years.
e te tei tuatau anga uru rimanga uru ki mo.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Me
Speaker.
te ki mata e mai ne watutu.
Thank you, and I will propose the question that the motion is agreed to,
Me te ki mata.
and the floor is open for anybody to debate on the motion.
Me te ki mata ka tuko atu i te tei iki anga kia ariki ia te ia ke oanga e ka tuera te taua no te tangata o atu kia tutua mai.
I see the Honourable Tina Brown.
Te ki te atu ni out, me mga te ki Tina Brown.
Kia ora ana, Madam Speaker. Kia ora ana tātou katoto.
Kia ora ana, Madam Speaker and members of this House.
Me tā te chairman o te Select Committee e kāri mai.
And as explained by the chairman of the Select Committee,
O ariki te Select Committee e ko te whērua i roto i te report 7.2.9
And as suggested, put forward by the Select Committee, that in 7.2.9
e te 7.5.3
and the 7.5.3,
ka cover ia tirira e te draft amendment Constitution number 29 bill
it will be covered under the draft 29 of the bill.
e ko irina ki te Select Committee e kia repeal e te 76A1
And the Select Committee believes that it is appropriate to repeal the 76A1
e kia replace ia ki te new 76A1 e taiku iara i roto i te Constitution Amendment number 29 bill.
and to be amended by the 76A1 as indicated in 29
I tauturo tui te akamarama ki tō tātou mema i roto i te ngutu are.
to enable us to understand this bill before the House.
O te aite anga o te ture tāmanako, ka o mai te adopted children ki roto i te article, the new article 76A1.
The background to these amendments is that the adopted children will be included into this new amendment 76A1.
Ka kāte ia mai rato i roto i te immigration bill in section kare e anuanu ia kia define ia the medical evacuation e tai kora mātou i raroa ki te 7.5.3 alternative.
And secondly, there is no need to define
Article 76A1
because the amendment in Article 76A1
no te mea kua kōpai ke i atu te tūranga anau ki roto i te Pastere.
because the situation of being born in a country has already been addressed.
Ka rerire e inangoro ia te tai medical evacuation.
Therefore, there is no need for a medical evacuation.
No te mea kare the place of birth e critical ho ana i raroa ki te article 76A1, the new article.
Because under the new Article 76A1, the place of birth is not critical anymore.
Ko irina ki te Select Committee e ko te rawenga mātutu te ia.
This is what the Select Committee believes will strengthen this position
I te address I te o concerns o te mātaanga o te iti tangata, no runga I te tūranga o te adoption,
to address the majority of the concerns of the people regarding adoption,
e pērā katoa te ngai anau e a child of a permanent resident.
as well as the place of birth of a child of a permanent residence.
Madam Speaker, iwi anga o te me ko te tātātou debate nei no runga ua I te anga article or
The debate nei tato, no runga I the motion that was put on 21, 24, 35, 36 being recommitted to the Committee of the Whole House.
Madam Speaker,
But not only that, you can also debate on the rest of your, in this forum, in Parliament, you can look at any part of your report. Yeah.
Madam Speaker, just a matter of clarification. We are debating on this, just on this part 76A1, but the clarification is we are debating according to the amendment for numbers 24, 25, 35 and 36, and you may also debate on the rest of the bill.
I know ruwaurire, Madam Speaker, I te uke ki te akamataanga o te clause 7, I roto I te report at the Select Committee.
Madam Chair, I intend then to return to the beginning of clause 7 within the report of the Select Committee.
Ko te tāmanoko anga mua no runga I te use o the term continuing rights.
And for the first definition of the term continuing rights.
And me taupaa ki a I tūtua papa atu, because continuing rights, tikaanga mutuko rea.
I think
Tikaanga tina mo.
I suppose it would be appropriate if I speak English for the definition of continuing rights.
There are two rights under the immigration bill.
E rua I tikaanga I raro ke I te ture tamanako.
Those that are referred to as continuing rights, and those that are not continuing rights.
Te taiku ia e tikaanga tina mo, e pera katoa rātou tikaanga kare tina mo.
However, the Select Committee felt that perhaps those terms should be defined.
Nā rā kua I naki te komiti e ki a kataka metiki a te au upoko tutua.
So that it clarifies for everyone
Ke roko mai te tai a katakaanga no te katoto,
what is meant by those terms.
e atika te aiteanga o te au kupu tutua.
And that is the first recommendation, 1,
E,
that it be defined in clause 4, the definition clause in the bill.
e ko te tamana ko anga mua ki a kataka I te rira ki roto I te irawa a, ko eo ki no te akatakaanga I te tutua I roto I te ture tamana.
And that definition will also affect other provisions in the bill, namely 22, 23, 28, 29, 45, and 46.
Ko te ia akatakaanga rea, ka arapa ki te rira ki runga I te tai irawa ke I roto I te ture tamanako, me te ronga o marua, ronga o matoru, ronga o mavaru, ronga o maiwa, anga o marima e te anga o maiwa.
And for consistency, it is also recommended that they be included in clause 55, 105, 225, and 226 of the bill.
E kia aiti te paianga, kia taru ia tu rātou ki roto I te irawa e mga o marima, tai anere e rima, ru anere e runga o marima e te irawa runga anere runga o maono o te ture tamana.
And the Select Committee believes that defining those rights will make it much clearer as to what is intended by persons with continuing rights and persons without continuing rights.
E o te irina ki anga te o te komiti e mea ka taka ia te au aiteanga, ka taka metaki te tumu manako e tika te koronga o te ngā tutua, te tikaanga tinamo, e te tikaanga ma te kore tinamo.
The recommendation 2 under 7.2
O te tamanako anga rua I raro ke te irawa e tūtopata rua.
that should be a straightforward amendment.
Te a ka tuke ngā tika o te.
That is simply to remove the word Polynesian in the definition
O te ko te tipu ki wao I te tutua Polynesian,
and replace with the word Maori.
e kia mono I atu tere ki te tutua Māori.
And the reason for that is because the committee received many submissions and during consultations in Rarotonga and the Painua,
O te tumu I te mata o atu te o tutua tata patianga te taime ki te komiti no roto mai Rarotonga nei e perakato te paino,
that Cook Islanders wanted to be called Maori.
e kua ano I nga ora te iti tangata ko ka aere ke kapiki e rātou e Māori.
We are Polynesians, but the definition of Polynesians also includes others in the Polynesian area.
O atu e tangata Polynesia tātou i te pai mona, te wainei rā te ta eo I tangata ke I roto I te pai Polynesia.
I will not talk about 2A because that is the part that we went into camera for discussions. I will go straight to endorsements,
Ka rewe
7.3.
Ka rewe tutua no runga I te toanga rua a, no te mea goti te rea tātou tutua I roto te uipanga takake, ka neke rau ki te tuanga turu I te numero e tūtopata rima.
There is not much to say about endorsements because whilst initially there were some issues from our people as to why tō rātou passports should be endorsed.
Kare mata te tutua no runga I te tuanga aka tikanga no atu e kua mana tātou I te tangata no runga I te tūranga o te rātou passport.
When it was explained to them that it was an operational or an administrative matter,
I te akamarama I atonga ki rātou e ko te ua no runga I te o nganga rawe.
and that it would make it easier for our people when crossing borders if they had an endorsement on their passport.
E ko tea ka rauka I te tauturu I te tātou I te tangata me neke rātou ngā rātou pū I te tai pasiria ki te tai pasiria me hila ti tuto endorsement ki runga te rātou passport.
They accepted that it would be a good idea to have everyone's passport, those Cook Islanders born in the Cook Islands and those not born in the Cook Islands, to be endorsed.
E ko ari ki rātou e kia mea meta kia endorse ia te o passport o te oronga katoto o te kukaineni anō ia ki te painoa e rātou te anō ia I waoke I te painoa kukaineni.
And you will see at recommendation 3, whilst we make mention of it, so that people will know that we had considered it, no changes have been made to the bill.
E ki akara tātou ki raro I rawa toru, e te o tamanakoanga, e I ruto I te ture tamanako kare e tauianga I rawi.
Under 7.4, there was much said about the ministerial discretion in respect of PRs.
I raro I te irawa I tūtopa ta a e mātou atu te tūtua no runga I te mana o te minita no runga I te tukuanga tika o te PR.
The concern was that the minister should not have absolute discretion,
Ko te mana tai konei auraka kia riro te mana katotoa I te minita.
and if there was going to be some discretion with the minister, then there should be criteria and some boundaries put around it.
E me o kana ia te mana ki te minita e o katakaanga te tai e o kōtikanga te tai ki a tukuna ia.
The committee appreciated the fact that if we left it open and no one was responsible, PRs were granted.
Ka ngata ia tātou I te tuu, I te akaapa e, me tarapa ki uake, nā I te iau tūranga piara I oronga.
It made sense to the committee that the discretion and the responsibility be left with the minister,
Moria kua ai tā te komiti akaranga e me tau ki a oronga e te iau mana ki te minita.
but we were also, and we took on board the submissions from many of the public,
Nā rā kua ariki mātou I te o tātaanga, te o tutua, te taimai no roto mai tō tātou iti tangata.
and that is that the minister, in making those decisions, take into account the views of the RAC,
E
the ariki in the area,
ko te minita e ka anono I ai e tuku I te au tikaanga ki a aru ai I te manako o te tuanga o te Evangelia RAC e parakato te uieriki o tau o tuangara.
and in the case of the Pāinua was very strong in that the views of the Island Council should also be taken into account.
E no runga I te Pāinua kua ririnui, pakari te manako o te Pāinua I te anoano e kia ariki ia te manako o te konitara o te ino.
You will see there also that we recommended that it be publicly notified
E ka kite tātou I rawe konei kua tamana ko mātou e kia aka kite I te ki wao te katoto.
in the Gazette at least 7 days.
E parakatoa ki roto e te kapapanga gazette no te tai itura.
I will go straight to 7.6.
Tikao ki numero itu topo taono.
There were some submissions against allowing ministerial discretion under clauses 57, 64 to 66 and 125.
E o pato I anga te I te oronga mana di tikanga ki te minita I rauroke I te ukirawa te mga orma itu, onanga orma a ki te oronga orma ono e parakatoa I rawa tai anere e ronga orma ono.
But the Select Committee felt that in immigration law,
Nā rā, ko te manako o te kumiti ikianga I raro kei te ture tomo Pasire.
An overarching discretion is properly available to avoid outcomes that may otherwise produce a harsh result.
Anono ia te tai tikanga mi te tutu ki kore tupu mai te tai au tai iang. Moroto I te au tuku ngati.
And that type of discretion is reflected in clauses 57, 64 to 66 and 125.
Ko te au tu tikanga mana, kua akataka I te rera I raro kei tau irawa rimangor ma etu, o nongor ma a ki tō nongor ma ono, prakatoa te irawa tai anere rongor ma ono.
There was also a lot said about the discretion exercised by the Minister in respect of honorary PRs.
Prakatoa mātau atu te mana ko te tuku I mai no runga te tikanga, te mana o te minita me tuku eia I te au tikanga ki runga I te aronga te karanga I honorary.
This type of permanent residence is a way for our country to show appreciation for what the recipient has otherwise done for the country.
O te au tikanga honorary PR, atianga te tau to tatu Pasire te oronga te te eka metikenga ki te o warong tangata, te rawe te o nganga I tauturu to tatu Pasire.
And these recipients do not usually reside in the Cook Islands.
Ko te aronga te tuana rato I te o taonga kare rato nona ki roto I te Cook Island ne.
We will see that the criteria for these PRs are set out in clause 27.3 of the bill.
Ka ki te tātou te akatakataka anga no te au tuanga tangata tuanga nei kua kataka I te rera I rato I te irawa rongoruma I tu topata itu o te ture tamana.
It was the view of the Select Committee that the appropriate person who would know who to reward for services rendered is the Minister.
Kua papu I te komiti ko te tangata ka tau eia I te oronga I te au taonga honorary PR, ka taura te ko te minita.
We have made no changes, but because it was raised, we thought it appropriate to cover it in our report.
Kana mātou I akatuke nei tērā inara no te taiku I mai taura ki a taiku mātou I te ki roto I ta mātou reports.
At 7.7, we talk about the number of permanent residents.
I roto I te irawa itu topata itu kua taiku mātou I te tareanga o te oronga PR.
We've covered that very briefly.
Ko taiku poto o mātou I tia.
We understand that it was increased from 500 to 650 in 2009 when we hosted the mini South Pacific Games.
Marama mātou kua kakake I te ia me te tare rima anere ki te ono anere rima ngoru I te matai te ruatapusini iwa I te rawe anga tātou I te tuanga sport o te mini games Pacific.
I understand that we wanted to feel a stronger team and felt that by awarding PRs to Papua New Guinea, Fiji, Samoans, our team would be stronger.
Marama mātou kua ina ora tātou I te iki te te pupu ririnui atu no tātou penei ngā roto I te oronga I te au taonga PR ki te o Samoa, te Papua New Guinea, te Fiji penei hariro te rea ka mātutu mai to tātou pupu Pasire.
On reflection, that was probably not a proper consideration for awarding PRs.
Ia karakara muri nei penei ka te I te tikanga tau tikai no te oronga I te taonga PR.
Thank you. I see the Honourable Selina Napa.
Madam Speaker, I stand to rise and put a motion on the table to extend the Honourable Tina Brown's time.
Main watu tōtu mai te kakeu ki a kateri atu tuato tutua o te mema.
Thank you. There's a motion on the floor. Is there a seconder?
Ai turu.
I stand to second the motion.
Seconded by the Honourable Tamaiva Tuavera.
Turu ia te mema tamai wa tuavera.
I put the question that the motion be agreed to.
Pene te iki anga ki ariki e te kakeuanga.
Those in favour say aye.
Te ariki e tutua ai.
Those opposed say
Te
no.
pato e tutua kare.
You may continue, and I'm looking at the clock. You have 5 minutes.
Ka tutua o aturai koe e 5 minutes.
Earlier today, I had indicated that there was some very strong submissions made to the Select Committee about the number of permanent residents.
I takamatanga te rā kua tutu atou e mata watu te o tutua pakari, ri nui te tukumai no runga i te tareanga o te waronga pia.
We took those submissions into account, coupled with the inappropriateness of the reason for increasing the numbers in 2009.
E kua apai mātou i te manako e prakoto kapiti atu i te turanga te manako i e kari taurua i te oronganga i te o taonga piara i te matai ti rua tausini e iwa.
Recommendation 7 has reduced the number of permanent residents to 500.
Ki roto i te irawa itu i te karanganga i kia tipu ia mai. Te tareanga o te piara me te ono, anere rima oru ki raro i te rima anere.
I have the next one at 7.8 is to do with the level of health.
E ko te aru mai, i rawa itu topatawaru no runga i te turanga o te orang.
We have included that in there. There was a submission made at one of the meetings, but no change has been made to the bill.
Ko tai ko mātou te no atu ko tukuna i meta te mana ko karera e tau i anga i rawe.
Similarly with 7.9 with visas and permits,
Ra katoa no numero itu topataiwa no runga i te visa, i te permit.
we make mention of it because we have considered it, but it makes no recommendation for any changes to the bill.
Ko tai ko mātou no te mea kua uri uri mātou nara kare ka tuke anga no ture tamanako.
There were many other recommendations that was put to the Select Committee, both in written submissions and in consultations.
E manganui wātu te o tamanako anga te tukuna e mai ki te committee, nā te tutuanga, uipaanga e parakato te tata mai anga.
But for now, the Select Committee recommends no further changes.
I te atianga rā te tamanako nei te committee e, kia kore e aka tuke anga ke atu.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
E te mātou mai ni wātu toa.
Thank you very much. I can see the Honourable Toti Tupa. We can give you a few minutes. Please have the floor.
E te mata mai ni wātou toa.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Ana wātou toa tū mai rā kirunga i te turu te ao tāmanako o ti tuku i mei kuru tupu i tātou i te a iei ne.
Madam Speaker, I stand to give my support to the recommendations put before the House.
Pera katoa te o manako te akaire ni mai te tua te akatantono, te arataki o te tua te akatantono. Runga i te o tau manako katoa toa te akanoi ki raro ki te turi tāmanako.
With all the recommendations that was put forward before the House by the Leader of the Opposition for this House to consider.
Te iwa ako tua ngai nā roki pe mei tātou ki a akaramata tio no te mea. Noa tu ke karirotu i te akanonoanga koe o ki te tuanga te akarakare ko te waronga PR to rātou nōra ki nutireni.
And I would like to raise something before this House in regards to those people who have been given their permanent residence who are now living in New Zealand.
No te mea raro i tātou ture takere me nō rātou kirira aurukai pāteo te torumatai.
Because under the old law, they can live in New Zealand but not more than 3 years.
Irina ki rāo e ko tia ka roko pāti raro ki te tureichi te ka tāmana ko ia. Nōrunga i te aka matutuanga i te aoronga e nōne ki te ao e nōmi nutireni.
But I do believe that it will be in the regulations where we can look at people who are living in New Zealand.
O te mea ko te tei tā i te o tātou i tanga te maomai e tātou i raro tōne. Nōrunga i te ia, iara rātou i te ki e torumateiti. Eo te tei tuatou.
Because this is one of the issues that we are facing today in the past for those who have been living as they near the period of 3 years they would return to revalidate their permanent residence. But I believe, Madam Speaker, that what have been considered by the Select Committee and has been reported before this House.
Pera ka toa tanga kapiti toa ki to tato immigration officer i kone.
And working very closely with our Ministry of Immigration here in Rarotonga,
Pera ka toa te toa mo the Crown Law.
and including the Crown Law Office.
Karo ko te irire ta ka nono i raro ko te turei che ka ka peti ke tato i ta ka batu tua ngai pene ka ka mata tiu ia me turu mata che ka ri ko uki mai me kore i raro wa ko te turu mata ka ru ko i to opia.
So I believe then that under the regulations, we will be given the avenue of considering those who have lived beyond 3 years or just before they turn 3 years.
So the mea tutua te mai na ma tutua no kone mai to tato i tanga te pati mai ki tato i roto i te tato ko yoki aura tato ke agar mata tiu tato i te turanga e no ni ro atu mai kiro i te ki te o atu i te mana o runga i te aoronga PR e no ne turmata i me kore ira ro ka turmata i te no nu jire me te man.
I am standing before this House to present these issues that our people have raised to the Select Committee that I want us to consider, especially those who have stayed in New Zealand for about 3 years or just before they turn 3 years.
Thank you very much. Perfect timing. Honourable members, thank you very much to the committee for your good work today in coming up with some good solutions. We have reached the end of our sitting for today, and we will adjourn and come back tomorrow. But can I please ask the last member on the floor to please lead us in a purea.
Pure tato ki te tua tēnā e te me tua tap o tae mātou ki tō punga i te o mana ko tā mātou i ruri e i tauturu ngai tō mātou pāsire e pera kato tō mātou i te tangata te toenga te rāta mātou ka aere te me tō tap ki riro koe i te teke i te pāruri a mātou ka tō toa tā mātou te ki moe tō ora o tauturu mai ari ki mai tā mātou āti ngā pure i tēne tō atu atu. Amen.
Amen.
Parliament is adjourned till Tuesday the 29th at 1 p.m.
Ka ngaru inei ti ang utu ar paramani e ka tai watu ka popo i roirua na rongo maiva o September e ka kamata i te orata i te ia.